The year 2049, a year that once seemed a distant future, now looms large on the horizon. This date, marking the centenary of the People's Republic of China, carries with it a weight of expectation and uncertainty. For China, it represents the culmination of a century-long journey to reclaim its position as a global power. For the West, particularly the United States, it presents a challenge to the existing world order. The rivalry between the United States and China, the world's two largest economies and military powers, has intensified in recent years. Friction points abound, from trade disputes to technological competition to military posturing. This tension, if left unchecked, could boil over into open conflict, with potentially disastrous consequences for humanity. The post-Cold War era, marked by American unipolarity, is fading into history. The rise of China, an economic and military powerhouse, has fundamentally altered the global balance of power. This shift has ushered in a new era of great power competition, with the US and China vying for influence and dominance on the world stage. Unlike the ideological struggle between capitalism and communism, the US-China relationship is more nuanced. Both nations are integrated into the global economy and share common challenges, such as climate change and pandemics. Yet, despite these shared interests, areas of friction are growing, fueling mistrust and increasing the risk of conflict. Three key areas stand out as potential flashpoints technology, military capabilities, and regional disputes. China's rapid technological advancement, for instance, has military implications, particularly in the Indo-Pacific region, a strategically vital area where both nations have significant security interests. Each point of friction represents a potential trigger for escalation, underscoring the need for clear communication, crisis management mechanisms, and a commitment to finding peaceful solutions. The alternative, a descent into great power conflict, is too dangerous to contemplate. Technology sits at the heart of the US-China rivalry. Both nations recognize the transformative power of emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, AI, quantum computing, and 5G to reshape the global balance of power. This has led to a fierce competition for technological dominance, often referred to as a technological Cold War. The United States, long a leader in technological innovation, is facing unprecedented competition from China. China has made significant strides in recent years, investing heavily in research and development and fostering a dynamic tech sector. This has raised concerns in Washington about the potential for China to overtake the US in critical technological fields, with implications for economic competitiveness and national security. The rivalry extends beyond a race for technological supremacy. It also encompasses concerns about intellectual property theft, forced technology transfer, and the use of technology for authoritarian purposes. The US has accused Chinese companies of stealing intellectual property and pressured allies to restrict the use of Chinese technology, particularly in sensitive areas like 5G networks. This technological competition has far-reaching consequences. Managing this competition effectively while safeguarding national interests and promoting innovation is one of the defining challenges of the 21st century. Alongside the race for technological dominance, a parallel competition is unfolding in the military realm. Both the United States and China are engaged in significant military modernization programs, expanding their capabilities and developing new weapon systems. This arms race, fueled by mutual suspicion and a lack of transparency, increases the risk of miscalculation and escalation. China has been rapidly expanding its navy, developing advanced missiles, and investing in space and cyber capabilities. These developments are seen as challenging U.S. military superiority in the Indo-Pacific region, a key area of strategic competition. The U.S., in response, has been strengthening its military presence in the region, enhancing alliances with countries like Japan and Australia, and developing new military technologies. This dynamic creates a dangerous feedback loop, with each side's actions fueling the other's insecurities and increasing the risk of an arms race spiral. The lack of transparency surrounding military activities further exacerbates tensions. Establishing military-to-military dialogue, crisis hotlines, and incident prevention mechanisms is essential to mitigate the risk of accidental escalation. No issue is more sensitive and potentially explosive in the U.S.-China relationship than Taiwan. China views Taiwan as a breakaway province, destined for reunification with the mainland by force if necessary. The United States, while officially adhering to a one-China policy, has committed to providing Taiwan with the means to defend itself. This delicate situation has become increasingly precarious in recent years. China has intensified military activities around Taiwan, conducting air and naval exercises that are widely seen as rehearsals for a potential invasion. The United States, in turn, has increased its support for Taiwan, providing arms sales, conducting naval transits through the Taiwan Strait, and reaffirming its security commitments. This has heightened tensions with China, which views U.S. actions as emboldening Taiwanese separatists. Any miscalculation or accident could spark a conflict that would have devastating consequences for all involved. Maintaining clear communication, adhering to existing agreements, and avoiding provocative actions are essential to preventing a crisis in this highly sensitive area. The South China Sea, a strategically vital waterway, has become another flashpoint in the U.S.-China rivalry. China claims almost the entire South China Sea as its sovereign territory, a claim disputed by several Southeast Asian nations, including the Philippines, Vietnam, and Malaysia. The United States, while not taking a position on the territorial disputes, insists on freedom of navigation and overflight in the region. China's assertive actions in the South China Sea, including island building, militarization of artificial islands, and harassment of vessels from other countries, have raised concerns about its intentions. The U.S. has responded by conducting freedom of navigation operations, sailing warships close to disputed islands to challenge China's claims. This contest for influence in the South China Sea has raised tensions and increased the risk of miscalculation. The presence of naval vessels and military aircraft from multiple countries operating in close proximity creates a heightened risk of accidents or misunderstandings that could escalate into a larger conflict. Finding a peaceful resolution to the disputes in the South China Sea is essential for regional stability and for managing the U.S.-China rivalry. The escalating rivalry between the United States and China, marked by technological competition, military buildups, and regional disputes creates a dangerous environment ripe for miscalculation, the lack of clear communication channels, the potential for misinterpreting intentions, and the absence of robust crisis management mechanisms increase the likelihood of an incident spiraling out of control. History is replete with examples of how misperceptions and miscalculations can lead to conflict, even when neither side desires it. The fog of war, amplified by nationalistic sentiments and the pressure to act decisively, can cloud judgment and lead to unintended consequences. In the context of the US-China rivalry, the stakes are even higher given the potential for a conflict between nuclear-armed states. An accidental collision, a misinterpreted maneuver, or a miscommunication could quickly escalate into a larger conflict, even if neither side intended to start a war. Transparency, dialogue, and a commitment to peaceful conflict resolution are paramount in navigating this complex and potentially explosive relationship. The challenges posed by the US-China rivalry are immense, but they are not insurmountable. Avoiding a catastrophic conflict requires a commitment to dialogue, diplomacy, and a recognition of shared interests. While competition between the two nations is inevitable, it need not devolve into a zero-sum game. Dialogue, even when difficult, is essential for building trust, managing differences, and preventing misunderstandings. Regular high-level engagement between leaders, diplomats, and military officials can help to clarify intentions, address concerns, and identify areas of potential cooperation. Diplomacy, backed by a willingness to compromise, is crucial for finding peaceful solutions to regional disputes and managing global challenges. Both the US and China have a shared interest in addressing issues like climate change, pandemics, and nuclear proliferation. Cooperation in these areas can build trust and create a more positive dynamic in the relationship. The two nations share deep economic ties, with bilateral trade reaching hundreds of billions of dollars annually. These areas of cooperation provide a foundation for building a more stable and constructive relationship. The year 2049 may feel like a distant horizon, but the choices we make today will determine whether it marks a new era of cooperation or a descent into conflict. The US-China relationship stands at a crossroads, and the stakes could not be higher. Navigating this complex relationship requires a clear-eyed understanding of the challenges, a commitment to dialogue and diplomacy, and a willingness to find common ground. Competition between the two nations is inevitable, but it need not lead to conflict. By embracing a spirit of cooperation and recognizing our shared interests, we can chart a course towards peaceful coexistence. Let us choose wisely,